The federal government has called for investigation of the death of a Nigerian who was killed in South Africa. The Naira closed at 365 per United States dollar at the parallel market on Wednesday. South Korean police have clashed with hundreds of demonstrators rallying against the deployment of more rocket launchers to the country. South Africa and Senegal have been ordered by FIFA to replay the World Cup qualifier completed in November last year. Good and welcome to African Broadcasting Network News. I am Chinyere Nwabo. Now the news in full. The federal government has summoned the South African Acting High Commissioner, Kenneth Pedro, over allegation that a South African police suffocated a Nigerian, Kingsley Carey, to death while he was in custody. It demanded investigation into the killing and punishment of the perpetrators. Ministry of Foreign Affairs in a statement said it summoned Pedro to protest the extrajudicial killings of the 27-year-old said to have died on August 30, 2017 in South Africa's eastern KwaZulu-Natal province. Ikeri had been living in the South African town of Rahide before his demise. The ministry said the Undersecretary for Regions and International Organizations, Ifeoma Chiwuba, had expressed Nigerians' anger at the alleged killing to the South African envoy and urged the South African authorities to bring those responsible for the despicable act to justice. In February, the federal government summoned the South African's then ambassador, Lulu Nguni, over a wave of xenophobic attacks that left dozens of shops owned by Nigerians vandalized in Johannesburg and Pretoria. About 109 persons have been evacuated from Libya by the International Organization for Migration. According to the National Emergency Management Agency, who received them are the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos. The people had expressed interest to return home. The Southwest Zonal Coordinator of NEMA, Suleiman Yakubu, who received them, said they were the first batch of people expected in September and enjoined them to learn from their unpleasant experiences and make good use of the opportunity given to them to return to Nigeria. One of the returnees, Owade Omolara, who was from Akbomu, Oshun, said she spent 1 year and 2 months in Libya and worked as a cleaner in a hospital, and that when it was time for her to collect salary, she was accused of stealing and taken to prison, and from there, the IMO came to her rescue. According to her, she paid 662,000 naira before she was taken out of Nigeria by a trafficker who she identified as Berger, noting that there are many Nigerians who traveled the way she did and are still there suffering the same fate as she. IMO said the total number of people rescued since February to date was 2,638. And now on business. The Naira closed at 365 per United States dollar at the parallel market on Wednesday, the same rate it closed on Tuesday. This was despite the Central Bank of Nigeria's injection of $250 million in the foreign exchange market on Tuesday. The Naira had traded flat at 365 per dollar on Monday, having closed at 365 per dollar on Friday. The federal government had declared Friday and Monday public holidays. The CBN injected $250 million into the various segments of the interbank foreign exchange market on Tuesday in order to lift the Naira against other major currencies. The central bank had last week reportedly injected $297 million into the retail secondary market intervention segment, raising the total intervention for the week to the sum of $547 million. The bank spokesman Isaac Okorafor hinged the economy's exit from recession to the regular intervention of the CBN in the forex market to boost liquidity in the market. He added that the timely execution and settlement for eligible transactions, as well as the forex available to the real sector and industrial capacities, were factors that boosted the economy. The price of Kuwaiti oil went up by $1.02 to $50.75 per barrel Wednesday, after being at $49.73 per barrel the day before, the Kuwait Petroleum Corporation (KPC) said on Thursday morning. According to the Kuwait news agency, at the global level, the prices went up due to the reopening of several U.S. refineries after Hurricane Harvey dissipated, which led to optimism concerning the recovery global supplies. The price of the Brent crude was up by 82% to $54.20 per barrel. The same case with the West Texas Intermediate, which went up by 50 cents to $49.16 per barrel. And on news from around the world. With the frequent flooding becoming too much, residents in Kolbikak, a neighborhood in Cameroon's capital, took matters into their own hands with gloves and wheelbarrows. Some of the 6,000 inhabitants now carry out daily trash pickups and monthly cleanups of the swampy areas once trash-choked wetlands and blocked drains, a measure they decided on themselves after failing to get outside help to solve the problem. This push had been particularly important as climate change leads to more extreme downpours, some of which last 5 to 6 hours at a time in the capital's rainy season, from March to September. And with haphazard construction in neighborhoods like Nkolbikak also makes the area inaccessible to dust carts and rubbish collectors. Simon Pierre Etoger, who's the coordinator of the scheme, said that with an 8-person team of 3 administrators and 8 collectors, they are able to collect 21 tons of waste per month. They've succeeded in reducing the rate of improper garbage disposal in Kolbikak by 35% since the start of the program, which has drastically reduced the amount of flooding in the neighborhood. President Jacob Zuma's popularity support has dropped even further as negative sentiments towards South Africa's future remains high. A Kantar TNS survey released today also indicates that Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa is the most popular candidate to lead the African National Congress (ANC) among Metro residents. Kantar TNS said his survey found that Zuma's performance approval rating has dropped below 20% to a new low of 18%. In contrast, 75% of people living in metropolitan areas disagreed that Zuma is doing a good job as president, an increase of 4% since March 2017. The shift in ratings continues to head downward, primarily due to worsening perceptions among black and colored respondents. On perceptions of conditions in South Africa, the survey found that overall 71% of Metro South Africans believe things have gotten worse in the past year, compared to 14% who think things are much the same, and 11% who feel things are getting better. Overall, Cyril Ramaphosa is the most popular candidate, with 36% of all respondents supporting him, irrespective of political affiliation, followed by Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma at 19% and Lindiwe Sisulu at 16%. Tens of thousands of protesters in Togo are calling for its president to step down immediately, despite the government's efforts to compromise. The opposition is protesting against constitutional reform recently announced by President Faure Gnassingbé, who's ruled the West African nation since the death of his father in 2005. The protests, organized by the Compat pour la Alternance Politique, bringing together 12 political parties of the opposition, are demanding a return to the Constitution of October 14, 1992, a revision of the electoral system, and the right for the diaspora to vote. The demonstration also aimed to denounce the manner in which security forces handled the August 19 demonstration, which left 2 people dead and many wounded and 66 people arrested. They want an independent investigation into the violence, the release of those arrested, and an end to the persecution against militants of the Pan-African National Party, which organized the demonstration. South Korean police have clashed with hundreds of demonstrators. More on this after the break. Welcome back. South Korean police have clashed with hundreds of demonstrators rallying against the deployment of more rocket launchers from the U.S. missile system to their country. The scuffles occurred yesterday evening as riot police tried to break out protesting crowds of about 400 residents in North Gyeongsang Province's Seongju County, some 300 kilometers south of the capital, Seoul, where 2 of the U.S. terminal high-altitude air defense THAAD missile system have already been installed. According to Seongju Fire Station, 38 demonstrators were wounded in the clashes and 21 of them were sent to the hospitals, but no life-threatening injuries were reported. The station said that a number of police personnel have been wounded in the scuffles. The protesters say the deployment of the missile system could turn their town into a primary target for North Korea, against which the system is being deployed, and they also complain that their peaceful lives have been interrupted by dozens of military helicopters, buses and trucks constantly traveling through the mainly agricultural area. South Korea decided to host the missile system last year under ousted President Park Geun-hye to deter perceived threats from North Korea. The first pieces of the missile system started arriving at the Osan Air Base in South Korea in March with approval of Seoul's then caretaker administration. The U.S. Attorney's Office of the Southern District of New York handed down a new indictment to charge Mehmet Zeyfa Kaglayan, 59, a current member of the Turkish Parliament who has also served as a Turkish economy minister from 2011 on to 2013. The prosecutor said in the indictment that during his tenure as a minister, Kaglayan received tens of millions of dollars worth of bribes in cash and jewelry from the proceeds of the scheme to provide services to entities banned by Washington. He added that Zarab had organized an elaborate gold for oil trade, sending Turkish gold to Iran in exchange for oil while deceiving foreign banks and American regulators. The indictment went further to accuse Halkbank, a bank majority owned by the Turkish government, of taking part in the design of fraudulent transactions intended to deceive U.S. regulators and foreign banks. The Turkish head of state, who says there are malicious intentions behind Zarab case, has already met with U.S. President Donald Trump's informal advisor, Rodolphe Giuliani. Zarab's lawyer said the businessman was arrested together with his wife and 5-year-old daughter in March 2016 when they traveled to the U.S. in order to visit the Walt Disney World Resort in Orlando. He has been detained in New York ever since and is expected to go on trial next month. Erdogan maintained that the then New York public prosecutor, Preet Bharara, who's responsible for the charges, was in contact with Fethullah Gulen, an exiled Turkish opposition figure living in the U.S. Let's join Hannah for some sports news. Thanks, Hannah, for that sports news.
Thanks, Jerry, and on Sport News. South Africa and Senegal have been ordered by FIFA to replay their World Cup qualifier completed in November last year. Home team South Africa, who won the match 2-1 in Polokwane, will not stand after actions taken against Ghana official Joseph Lamptey was upheld by the Court of Arbitration for Sport in the controversial match in which a penalty was awarded to South Africa, leading to protests by Senegal and a FIFA investigation. In a statement released, the Bureau for the FIFA World Cup qualifiers ordered a replay of the qualification match between South Africa and Senegal held on 12th November 2016, stressing, as stated in the FIFA World Cup regulations, this decision shall come into effect immediately but shall be subject to confirmation by the organizing committee for FIFA competition at its next meeting, scheduled for 14th September. Following the cancellation, the match will be replayed within November 2017 international window, which exact date yet to be released. Still on sport, Everton, Holyfield and Real Deal Sports, partnering with Resort World Casino New York City, head to the boxing capital of the world to host their first card in New York in a world-class weekend for boxing fans on September 8th and 9th. The showdown, featuring top boxing prospects from the tri-state area, the official weigh-in and press conference kick off at noon. Tomorrow at Bar 360 at Resort World Casino, featuring remarks from Real Deal top prospects and appearance by Holyfield himself. In the main event on September 9th, former featherweight world champion Elio the Kid Rogers face off against local favorites Bryant Pewee Cruz for the WBC US NBC Super Featherweight Championship in Resort World Central Park event space. Also co-featured in the junior NABF middleweight titled Ayan, Young General Green battles Kima, the Hitman Russell in the 8th round battle, and former amateur standout Hegard Balanga will make his hometown debut against the undefeated Sadiq Muhammad in another future attraction. The undercard features New York State's middleweight champion Devin Lee of Queens. The undercard features New York State middleweight champion Devin Lee of Queens, under-defeated Mexican welterweight prospect Julian Sosa, Brooklyn-based welterweight Cesar Francis, 21-year-old Brooklyn native Khalid Touati, and acclaimed amateur Salik Amlaki of Queens. Door open to be ring at 6 p.m. on September 9th. Plans were revealed last summer for a new gallop on race course side in New Market that will be similar to Warren Hill and help increase the number of trainers setting up away from the more popular Bury Road. The 900-meter-long state-of-the-art gallop on Hamilton Road will start below ground level and rise up 30 meters onto an elevated bridge before finishing on a man-made mound. Warren Hill were up to 2,000 horses trained each day. Speaking when the plans were announced, Nick Patton, Assistant Managing Director at Jockey Club Estates, said they had identified the problem as race course side yards being the wrong side of town and using Warren Hill was deemed a negative, but the solution was proven hard to find as there is no suitable terrain on which to lay down a gallop comparable to Warren Hill. That's it on our sport bulletin. Let's join Sharon Wabo for the top story. I am Anna Olutayo.
Thanks, Hannah, for that sports news. That sports news wraps it up on today's bulletin. But before we go, a recap of our top stories. The federal government has called for investigation of the death of a Nigerian who was killed in South Africa. The Naira closed at 365 per United States dollar at the parallel market on Wednesday. South Korean police have clashed with hundreds of demonstrators rallying against the deployment of more rocket launchers to the country. South Africa and Senegal have been ordered by FIFA to replay the World Cup qualifier completed in November last year. Thanks for watching. You can follow us in our social media platform by visiting our website at www.abnchannel.net. Follow us on Twitter at ABN Channel. Like us on Facebook at ABN TV. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel, African Broadcasting Network. I'm Chinyo Nwabu. Thanks for watching.